It's Wednesday, September 24th. Let's level up. Some kind of important economic data coming out on Thursday. We get durables and, more importantly, GDP, so we'll get a look at growth. And then on Friday, we get the PCE, which is the Fed's inflation gauge of choice. Obviously, could be significantly the market moving, and I actually even think we could use Friday's range being long above or short below. We're still kind of reeling on the heels of Powell saying the market seems to be pricey or overvalued. I guess this is his irrational exuberance moment. Although it was 4 years after Greenspan made those comments that the market actually topped. So yeah, that doesn't necessarily mean all that much. But in the absence of earnings, in the absence of some headlines, market's keying off that. As far as the VIX goes, we stalled right where we should today at the 100 MA, currently 1713, high of day was 1721. So if we can clear 1721 and then 1756, maybe we have a little bit more of a hop up to 1922, which is the 200 MA and the next big resistance. If we get back below and stay below today's low of day, and we kind of closed on the lows, it would be below 1618. We could probably pull back to the 20 MA of 1564, and then we'd see. As far as the ES and the NQ go, I'm using the 6701.75 area to 66.96.75 as neckline. But if we use the 6701.75, because that was the prior day's low before the bounce, we need to stay over that. So anything above 6701.75 or even just 6700, I think is still okay for the bulls. If that slips, then we start thinking maybe are we back on the $100 table and could we go back to 6600? Now there are levels in between there that are important. Between the Fed Day VWAP at 66.59 quarter and 66.70 quarter, that would be the next big downside reference. After that, you're looking at the 2 times range at 66.46.75 down to 66.40. After that, you're looking at the 66.12.75, which would be the 2.618, and there's some other reference support around 66.11. My guess is if we got down that low, there would be a run at 6600 for a small overshoot. As far as Qs go, very similar here. I'm using 24,780.5 as a neckline. I'd feel better over that. We did check back to both of these necklines in the after hours, but have not been able to sustain above it. We pulled back today and held the 24,598.75 to 24,647 quarter. That is, of course, the next big key support range. After that, it's the 2 times range at 24,533.75. And then after that, it's the 2.618 at 24,381 quarter. As far as SPY goes, we closed right basically on the 10 MA. Bulls need to stay over there at 661 quarter. In the after hours, we're just a little bit above there. If we continue to pull back, my guess is the 20 MA would be the next key support at 654.23, and maybe a retest of the 649.48 breakout from the 828 candle high. If we do a little bit more of an overshoot, we could even retest the 646.19, but I think that 646.19 to 649.48 is the key check back area if we do have a larger pullback. As far as the Qs go, we held the 10 MA, similar thing. You could use low of day at 593.36 as a stop. If we lose that, we could retest the breakout, and the 20 MA between 583.32 and 584.14, and then we'd see. That's a very key area, by the way. We hold over the 10 MA, I think it's just sideways chop to higher, below, sideways to lower. NVIDIA had that big pop on the OpenAI news, but we've given most of it, if not all of it, back. Bulls here need to hold 175.11, that's the 20 MA, and we've had now several look above and fails of the 183.30 and even the 184.48 area, so that needs to clear. If we can do that, I think they make the run for the 200s. If not, we could be coming back down to the 164s, which is the range low, so maybe we're in this 20-point range with NVIDIA. Apple had also taken the market up. Still looks like it's holding up fairly decently. It needs to hold 247.19 to 250. I wouldn't really let it get below 250 on you. We have had some resistance at some other key levels. First, it was the 214.66 to 215 area, and then after that, most recently, 239.5 to 241-ish. That area could see a check back, the 239.5 to 241. What was resistance probably becomes support. So I would be interested by the dipper there, or maybe even an out of the money put seller at the 215 level if there's enough juice. Maybe if we have it a VIX 19 or even, God forbid, a VIX 30. But we go from level to level and we never assume end ranges. As far as Google goes, we got my 2 times range on the shorter time frame at 255.37. We're pulling back to the 2.618 on the larger time frame at 246.76. If we keep pulling back, we could probably test the 20 MA at 237.29. My guess is a first test could even be a right or right out by the dip. There's some fudge room down there to 229.75, but I'd probably be looking to play for a dip down there. If you want to do some kind of 1/2 put ratio targeting the 9.2 gap fill at 211.35, I don't mind doing that as long as you can get it on for some type of a small net credit, maybe a tiny net debit, but at least don't pay up for it. So it's either 1/2 or 1/1/1. Meaning you buy one, sell one, or buy one and sell two. If you're already long, maybe sell some out of the money calls as at least a hedge there, so bring in some premium, and I like doing that near dated particularly. CrowdStrike continues to pull back. I told you below 490.04 and then 480.72 could see still further pullback. If we pull back just to the 10 MA, that would be 466.35. I think we could pull back to the 100 MA possibly. That was the key support, but I don't assume that has to happen at 456.79 and rising. It's still one time framing to the downside, so just wait for it to clear a prior day's high if you're looking to buy the dip. Oracle also had that big kind of moonshot and just consolidating up here. To me, just again, sideways type action. Netflix is still consolidating decently, but it needs to clear and hold 1231.30. Gold had a bit of a pullback today. I think be careful if we can't hold the 10 MA at 339.53. If that fails, we could pull back to the 20 MA at 332.83, and I think for at least a day trade or a scalp, that could be a right or right out long. If you want to do a hedge, buy the 20 MA at 335, let's say, sell 50 MA at 320. I'm good with that as a hedge. Or a downside play if you want to do 1/2. I don't think it'll fill necessarily, but give it a look-see. As far as Bitcoin goes, it is very choppy here. The 100 MA has been holding at 111,323, and that must maintain. If we lose that, we could retest the 108,960 to 110,150, and maybe a retest of the 107,790 reference low from 9.2. My big question here is, are we caught between 117,000s and 107,000s, basically a 10,000 point range in Bitcoin? That could be the case here for a little while. TLT continues to bounce where it needs to. It needs to hold that 84.44 level, and it has done the last couple days. Today's low of day held the 20 MA, so if you want to play long, 88.66 plus is a long, below maybe stop out or short. 10 MA is a trim at 89.61. Generally speaking, the market is still up quite a bit. I don't mind taking some profits into some pops. I think that there's a little bit of buyer strike ahead of the GDP and more importantly the PCE, and I think a lot of traders may just wait to see what happens with the government shutdown at the end of the month, which is just now next week. I think the Democrats may try to push it. They think they have a winning issue here. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think it actually may backfire spectacularly on them, but regardless, I think traders are a little bit worried about that, at least for the headline. We've been through a lot of these, so I don't really expect the market to pull back all that much, but it could just be a catalyst. Seasonally, this time of year tends to be a little weak. They say sell Rosh Hashanah by Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur ends on October 2nd, so maybe there's a bit of a reload there. If we don't, we could continue to see some weakness, and we have seen when markets pull back, they could do it even into Halloween. That would be an ideal scenario for an end-of-year rally, but I wouldn't necessarily count on that. We seem to have these 1 to 2 day pullbacks only to get bought right back up, and of course traders do what works until it doesn't. Like and follow for more.